This is Richard Vague with Tychos. This week we will ask, what major country has the world's best savers? For most of my career, Americans have been chided for being poor savers, and the citizens of Japan and China have been lauded for being great savers. This assertion is usually based on the so-called household saving measure that the economics profession uses, calculating the flow of household income minus expense for 1 year. As an aside, we suggest this approach is typically more useful as a reflection and measure of the government's deficit spending, which by definition is equal to the surplus of other sectors, chief among them being the household sector. While this savings or surplus is reflected on the household balance sheet, it is not nearly the entire picture. To get a full accounting, we would need to look at all of the assets and liabilities, which includes the total accumulated amount that households have in their bank accounts, plus the amount of their stock portfolios, pensions, and the real estate they own, after subtracting any debt they owe. This comprehensive accounting represents a more intuitive and commonly held understanding of household savings, which we might also call household net worth. Well, if we look at total savings this way, American households are the world's best savers, and countries like Germany and India come in last. Keep in mind that we focus on the world's largest 7 economies, the US, China, Japan, Germany, France, the UK, and India, which together add up to 61% of world GDP and stand well above all the other countries we might look at in size. Here we see total household net worth as a percent of GDP for the Big 7. The US leads the pack at 566% of GDP, just a whisker above France at 565%. France gets this high valuation due to the extraordinarily high value of its land and real estate, which begs the question of the reliability of that valuation, a subject for another day. Germany and China rank at the bottom at 459% and 461% of GDP respectively. If we look at household financial net worth as a percent of GDP, which keeps in cash and stocks but omits illiquid assets like real estate, and therefore can more reliably be measured, we can see that the U.S. lead is even more pronounced, at 352% of GDP as compared to France, Germany, and India, the lowest on the scale, at 169%, 137%, and 84% respectively. But that's all as a percent of GDP, so let's also look at the total net worth per capita on a dollar equivalent basis. Here we see the U.S. household net worth, or total savings, is well above the pack at $437,255, while the countries at the bottom are China and India at $56,594 and $10,872 respectively. And if we look at this on a financial net worth only basis, the more liquid measure that nets out real estate, we again see the U.S. well above the pack at $271,648, while the countries at the bottom are again China and India at $33,376 and $1,978 respectively. By the way, for you technocrats, the story is somewhat better for China and India if we measure on a purchasing power basis instead of a currency exchange basis, but not enough to change the order here. So let's tip our cap to the falsely maligned U.S. households, who are by far the best savers in the world. That's it for this week. Thanks.